You lived an entire life before your third birthday. You tasted food, you felt fear, learned to walk, and formed bonds. But every single second of that early life is now completely gone. You remember absolutely none of it. Most people assume the answer is simple. Your brain was just too young or too underdeveloped to record what was happening. But researchers have found that this common explanation is wrong. This data chart maps memory retention in babies. In the 1980s, psychologist Carolyn Rovi Collier tied a ribbon from an infant's ankle to a crib mobile. The babies learned that kicking made the mobile spin, and when brought back days or weeks later, they immediately started kicking again. Their brains were storing long-term memories. If your baby brain successfully encoded those early experiences, we have to define where they went. Sigmund Freud called this total wipe of the early record infantile amnesia. Part of the answer is found in the hippocampus, the engine responsible for turning experiences into memories. In an infant, the wiring connecting the hippocampus to the prefrontal cortex, specifically a gateway called the dentate gyrus, is still under construction. But structural gaps are only one piece of the puzzle. Your earliest memories didn't slowly fade away. A biological mechanism operating inside your own skull actively dismantled them. We can see the scale of the problem by looking at the animal kingdom. A horse gives birth, and within an hour, the foal stands up and walks. A human baby arrives helpless, unable to even hold up its own head for months. This gap exists because of the obstetric dilemma, a brutal evolutionary compromise. Millions of years ago, our ancestors began walking upright, which narrowed the pelvis, while our species simultaneously developed much larger brains. We needed a narrow gateway to walk on two legs, but also had to pass a rapidly expanding orb, our brain, through that same space. To survive this bottleneck, humans are born prematurely. Waiting until our brains were finished would be a death sentence. Human infancy functions as an external gestation period. You are born as an unfinished animal because your construction has to continue outside the body. Our extreme physical vulnerability is a direct trade-off for our intelligence. The most powerful cognitive machine on Earth requires you to arrive defenseless. Once outside the womb, your brain begins a massive postnatal construction phase. It starts producing a flood of new cells at an extraordinary rate, a process known as neurogenesis. In 2014, a landmark study revealed the cost of this rapid growth. By tracking brain activity, researchers Jocelyn and Franklin found that high rates of neurogenesis in infants actually accelerate forgetting. Every time a new neuron integrates, it violently smashes into the existing network, breaking old connections to forge the stronger pathways of an adult mind. These fragile circuits being torn down were exactly where your earliest memories were stored. Your brain overwrites its past. The biological process required to build your intellect demolished the structures holding your past. You were disassembled to make room for the new you. Lasting memory also requires a psychological anchor. To form autobiographical memories, the kind you can replay like a movie, you need a main character. Before 18 months, infants lack a continuous sense of self or the language to structure their experiences. Without words to organize them, sensory impressions have no framework to attach to. The Rouge test identifies this developmental threshold. Put a dot of color on an infant's nose and place them in front of a mirror. They eventually reach up and touch their own face. They finally recognize the person in the mirror is themselves. This moment of self-recognition tracks with the age where memories begin to stick. You cannot remember your earliest years because you did not exist yet. The biological construction zone was too chaotic to support a narrator. This raises a difficult question. Is the baby in your old family photographs actually the same person you are today? Infantile amnesia is not a biological flaw. It is the price of admission for human consciousness. The infant you once were served as the raw material for your current self. They gave up their memories and their neural structure to build the mind you are using right now. It was becoming you, and that required quite literally destroying the person who came before. To keep uncovering how your mind works, subscribe to Ethos Psyche.